Hello BookTube, it's Ben here from the History Fellow channel again. Today's video I thought I'd do about one of my favourite topics in that I'd show you a few books about the 19th century, or if you want to call it the Victorian era. It's one of my favourite subjects because it's the 1800s just seems like everything was going on, everything was happening. You had the Industrial Revolution, you had the British Empire spreading further out around the globe, and it was just everything seemed to be happening. So I thought I'd get together the books I have on the Victorian era and I'll show you them. So first off, we'll start off with a couple of industrial ones. We have Victoria's Railway King. Sir Edward Watkin, once the Victorian era's greatest entrepreneurs and visionaries, by Jeff Scargill. Now this was he wasn't really a builder, he was more like a promoter. If I read from the back of the book, it says started to dig the Channel Tunnel in 1880, built the longest railway line in the world and the last mainland railway into London before the high-speed one, the Great Central Railway. Knighted for his work in secret negotiations that led to the creation of Canada. Became chairman of 9 different British railway companies and a trustee to a 10th. Created 3 parks for the people and helped develop railways in Canada, the USA, Greece, India and the Belgian Congo. So he was clearly a man who knew what he was doing, and kind of a man the British government saw as like a high flyer, and he was the man they would get in to organise all the work, sort of thing. Next you've got George and Robert Stevenson, pioneer inventors and engineers, and that's written by Anthony Burton. A new biography of 2 great British engineering pioneers who did much to develop the world we now live in. George and Robert Stevenson were at the forefront of early railways and were at the cutting edge of modern engineering history. When you read the book, it actually kind of shows that Robert Stevenson was more well known than George Stevenson, and although it might seem like just about trains or engineering, might not be that interesting, it is quite a good read and an excellent read. Certainly one I'd recommend, that one. The next one is the 19th Century Underworld. That's written by Stephen Carver. Crime, Controversy and Corruption. And actually when I did a book review on this last year, I think I gave it 5 stars. It really delves into crime and, well, like the title says, like the underworld of Victorian England, what went on. It's got an excellent chapter about body snatchers. There's things about crime, murder, body snatching, cockfighting, dog fighting, just the grim just the grim parts of everyday life, really, in Victorian England. And it's a really, really good read. I gave it 5 stars and I can't recommend that highly enough. It says on the back, take a walk on the dark side of the street in this unique exploration of the fears and desires at the heart of the British Empire. From the Regency dandies' playground to the grim and gothic labyrinths of the Victorian city. Enter a world of gin spinners, sneaksmen and Covent Garden nuns, where bare-knuckled boxers slug it out for dozens of rounds. Children are worth more dead than alive, and the Thames holds more bodies than the Ganges. This is the modern Babylon, a place of brutal poverty, violent crime, drugs, pornography and prostitution, of low neighbourhoods and crooked houses with windows out like broken teeth. Wraith-like urchins with haunted eyes, desperate, ruthless and vicious men, and the broken remnants of once fine girls. A grey, bleak, infernal place where gaslights fail to pierce the pestilential fog, and coppers travel in pairs if they venture there at all. A brilliant description of the book, and certainly one to read if you can. Next we have Sex and Sexuality in Victorian Britain. Everything you wanted to know about sex in Victorian Britain. Shows how attitudes to male and female sexual behaviour were often determined by their position of power and authority. And did the people in Victorian times live up to their stereotypes when it came to sexual behaviour? This book will answer this question, as well as looking at fashion, food, science, art, medicine, magic, literature, love, politics, faith and superstition through a lens, leaving the reader uplifted and with a new regard for the ingenuity of the character of our great-great-grandparents. And if you read the chapter titles, the descriptions are great. You've got Hustle and Bustle, Beddings, Weddings and Bastards, Liberty, Fraternity, Fidelity, Lifting the Lid on Lust, Gentleman's Relish, One Night with Venus, A Lifetime with Mercury, Dark Desires, A Walk on the Wild Side, as in Oscar Wilde, and Hidden in Plain Sight. That's Sexuality, or Sex and Sexuality in Victorian Britain, and that's written by Violet Fenn. Quite an entertaining book. The next one is Heroes and Villains of the British Empire, Their Lives and Legends, written by Stephen Basteo. This is more rather than the life, rather than Victorian everyday life. This is very much a character driven, in that it looks at the leading characters in Victorian Britain. You've got Heroes of the British Empire is the story of how British Empire builders such as Robert Clive, General Gordon and Lord Roberts of Kandahar were represented and idealised in popular culture. The men who built the empire are often portrayed as possessing certain unique abilities, which enabled them to serve their country in often inhospitable territories, and spread what imperial ideologies saw as the benefits of the British Empire to supposedly uncivilized people in far-flung corners of the world. So yes, that was certainly one that looks at the people who are spreading imperialism or British imperialism around the world as far as they can. But that's Heroes and Villains of the British Empire, written by Stephen Basteo. Right, my favourite book of the pile is A Visitor's Guide to Victorian England, written by Michelle Higgs. Now, the reason this is my favourite is because it's very well written and it's so descriptive that I think I wrote in a book review that it was almost like reading poetry because the descriptions are just fantastic. It's about everyday Victorian life, from the workers getting around, where people lived, how they shopped, fashion, how they fed themselves, what they eat, what they used to eat, children, education, how they were bound up together. It says, drawing on the wide range of sources, this book blends an accurate historical detail with compelling stories to bring the period to life. A must-read for seasoned social history fans, costume drama lovers, history students, and anyone with an interest in the 19th century. Certainly if you were a writer and you loved the Victorian era, then get this book, have a read. It's got a fantastic character to it. Right, the second last one is another crime one. Misjudged Murderess. Female Injustice in Victorian Britain, written by Stephen Jacoby. This basically looks at women who have been prosecuted, usually poisonings, because that's what women are more likely to do. But it looks at the a number of women, how they were treated, how the press treated them, and how the judicial system treated them. And often, because they were women, they were very unfair usually. The book is good in that it obviously brings the court case to the attention of the reader, but the book's very heavy on newspaper reports, what everyday people thought at the time, and doesn't concentrate much on the actual murder. So it's an in-between book. There's bits of it I like, bits of it I don't. And then the last book is the author who outsold Dickens. The Life and Work of W.H. Ainsworth, written by Stephen Carver. I think it was Stephen Carver who wrote he wrote the 19th Century Underworld, which I was very impressed by. This book is also very good, but I think it's because there was lots of writers and authors from the Victorian era. I think you have to be into writing and to know your authors of that period to get along well with this book. It says on the back, a new biography of an unjustly neglected Victorian novelist with original research drawing on his unpublished correspondence and his work as both a journalist and a novelist. An accessible study of the rise of modern English novel, from 18th century Gothic romance to Victorian realism, arguing that Ainsworth's forms a missing literary link between the death of Sir Walter Scott and the ascendancy of Charles Dickens as a national author. It includes rare illustrations from Ainsworth's serial romances by George Cruikshank, and it explores the Newgate controversy in context, its 18th century anecdotes, the politics of rebellion, and the schism it created between Ainsworth and Dickens. So it's very much, I think, if you're going to read this book, you need to be quite high on your English literature. But other than that, it's a very good book. So there we go. That's my little pile of Victorian books. If you're interested in the Victorian era, drop us down your favourite books, put them in the comments below the video, let me know. I'd be interested to find out more books that people have found helpful for them. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up please, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.